my channel. For those of you who are new, my name's Steph and I would love to personally welcome you here. So today I have today I've got 5 DIY home decor ideas for you guys. I try to make the DIY as easy and accessible to pretty much anyone in the world who's watching, so I try to keep items in it that people actually would have in their household already, or it's easy enough and affordable enough to go out and buy yourself at the local store. So I think pretty much all these DIY come under $10 Australian, so that's even less US. And not only that, in the US you find these things for even cheaper. So if you're in the US and if you're in Australia, also good news, because you can actually find these things in your local shops. I'm sure of it because I live in Cairns, so if I can find it, you can find it. Most of the items that I picked up to use for these DIYs were from Kmart and Bunnings, which you will see anyway throughout the video. Please don't forget to give me a big old thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. So without any further blabbing, I'm gonna say right now, let's get on with the video. Oh my thighs. I wouldn't recommend trying that at home.
So I just started off with a small cutting board from Kmart. It was only $3, and then I picked up a $2 wooden doorstop from Kmart, and I will use this for the back support rest for the phone cradle. Also, you'll need some glue to adhere the wood pieces to each other. I'm using No More Nails. I'm also using these wooden beads, which I had previously stained from another DIY, and then just a standard wooden peg. You can also use a piece of dowel or a small piece of wood if you would prefer. Then I'm just cutting off this little loop that came with the doorstop, as it wasn't really necessary for this project. And I'm just covering the back wood part with some cardboard because the funny material on it before left some pretty yucky, bumpy glue behind. So you want to make sure you use this side of the doorstop for the best possible angle I found. Then I'm just putting on the glue and then sticking it to the back of the chopping board. Really, it's the exact same on either side. You just pick which side you like best and press down hard. When you're done, then leave it aside to dry. I then also chose to remove that little screw, as it was still making the whole structure wobbly and wonky. And that gave me and left me with a really nice flat surface on the doorstop. And then I just pushed the doorstop down the back of the cutting board a bit, so it would be the only base of the whole structure. Then, to create the little shelf for my phone to sit on, I took my peg and simply glued the little beads on top using hot glue gun. I found this much better and more productive than the No More Nails glue. I only use the No More Nails glue to adhere the doorstop to the cutting board and the back of the peg to the cutting board. But for little fiddly things, I think hot glue gun is definitely the best result for things like beads. And of course the beads are totally optional. You do not have to do them at all by any means. I'm just kind of going through a bead phase, I guess. I just wanted to give the whole thing a bit more of a rustic and farmhouse feel to it. So once I put all the beads onto the peg and they had all dried, I then measured out where I wanted my little shelf for my phone to sit, and then I simply just put the No More Nails glue on the back of the peg and then stuck it to the pegboard. To the cutting board, sorry. And then when you're happy with the position of your little shelf, then just leave aside to dry. I then wanted to give my phone cradle a little bit more texture and a bit of something something, so I went ahead and made some tassels just using some twine, some wood beads from before, and scissors. And you'll also need something small and rectangular for wrapping your string around. Generally, rule of thumb is to pick something the size and width of how long you want your tassels to be. And then you just wrap your string around as full as you would like your tassel to be. And then I'm just simply taking another piece of string and looping it through and tying a knot on top to secure it. So once you've made your knot, then just separate that piece of string from the rest and then drag down the other pieces of string and make a cut. Then I'm just trimming mine off so they're all the same length. And then I took one of my wooden beads and simply pulled it down the two pieces of string that were knotted before. And that proved to be harder than I originally thought. And then I took some fabric glue and put it all over the knot that I made before, pulled the bead down over it. That was just to help secure the bead to the tassel. That is totally optional, of course. And here I'm just trying to figure out the best way to join the two tassels together. It's quite convoluted and not necessary, so if you have a better way of doing it, I recommend you give that a go instead. So, once the glue had dried, I then just attached the tassels to the piece of leather that was already on the cutting board. I then wanted to write the word create on it, so I just sketched out in pencil briefly first, and then went over it with my black fine color marker, which is an alcohol-based ink pen, which I thoroughly recommend as they stick really well to a multitude of surfaces. And here you have it, guys, the finished product. Alright guys, so for this DIY, all you'll need is some old books. I picked mine up from my local thrift store. And then you'll need some chalk paint. I chose white, but you can use any color you'd like. I think it'd also look really pretty in blush pink, or like a pale blue, or even like a sage green color. That would be really pretty as well. And then go right ahead, take your paintbrush and paint. You don't need to prime these, the chalk paint's pretty thick. I did 2 coats for mine. I wanted to add some words of encouragement and reminders to my books, as they are purely ornamental. So I then went in with my little alphabet stamp set and ink pad and stamped on my words. This is the part that I think is totally optional, but you could really have some fun with this, and it makes the DIY just even more unique and personal. I'd also love to know what words encourage, motivate and inspire you guys too. So if you'd like to, then share the love and leave a comment of them below. And here's the finished product, guys. I chose to make two little separate stacks and bind them together with twine, and I'll be using mine purely as decorative and ornamental, but also you could use them as bookends for your bookshelf, or you could paint some books that you're actually reading or reread. It doesn't damage the inside, and you can make them look really pretty and be functional at the same time. For this next little DIY project, you're going to need some sort of clay. I chose to use a natural air drying clay that I just picked up from my local dollar store. And then I just took out some little pieces of clay and started to shape and form them into my little eggs. Keeping in mind that eggs are not perfectly round, they're not spheres, they're actually oblong shaped. Once I finished that, then I just set them aside to dry overnight. And then I just mixed up some acrylic paints in some different shades of grey blue that I really liked, and mixed in a little bit of plaster of Paris too to give it a bit more of a chalky matte finish. I then went ahead and started to paint the eggs I wanted blue with the palest shade of blue, and then I went on top of that shade with a darker blue in certain areas to just give a little bit more depth to the eggs. And then I wanted to make some little quail eggs, so for these I went in with a nice light pale eggshell colour. And then I went in with some different shades of browns and black and grey and just dabbed it all over the eggs, just to give them that little cute speckled effect that the quail eggs really have. And just a little tip for those of you who are wanting to make these cuties as well, I recommend starting out lighter with the blotching on the quail eggs, as you can always add more later. I also chose to add some little black speckles and splotches to my blue eggs as well. And then I used this glossy glaze varnish by Sculpey to seal all my eggs. Then I decided to try making a little basket for the eggs to sit in, so I just took some regular cotton rope, some cling wrap, and also a round object. You can use a bowl. I just use this wooden ball that I have, as it's the closest size to the bowl I wanted. Then after covering my ball with Glad wrap, I then took some PVA craft glue and smothered it all over the area surface where I wanted the bowl to be. And then I simply coiled my cotton rope around the bowl to the height where I wanted the bowl to stop. And then leave to dry, and then once dried, pull out the Glad wrap, and then you're left with a cute little bowl. And then to decorate it, I just took some sphagnum moss, popped it inside, and then plonked all my little eggs in. And there's one way you can display your little farmhouse decor eggs. Another way I found was I took this little glass canister from Kmart, I think it was only $3, and then I popped the eggs inside first, and then I popped the rest of the moss in, closed the lid, and then tipped it upside down, shook it a little bit, and then try to cover up the little rubber seal that's inside for the lid with a bit of this jute string. Took some fabric glue to secure it, like so. And then I decided that I wanted to step up the cheese factor just that much more, and I took one of these little wooden tags that I picked up from the local dollar store, and wrote with just a normal little black ink pen, "I think you're excellent." My mum even said that that was lame, so you definitely don't have to write that, but I really like it and I think it's cute and it makes me smile, so no judgment. And then I just tied that little tag on with a piece of twine, and here's the finished product, guys. On to the next DIY. For this one, you're going to need a magazine box / folder holder, I call them, and some paint if your box isn't already the color you want it to be. I used my white chalk paint again and had a lot of fun shaking it up. And then I went ahead and proceeded to paint the whole surface of the boxes that I wanted to paint. And then when I was finished, I set them aside to dry. While they were drying, I went onto my computer into Word and just printed out some big sized numbers in black ink, and then I cut them out. And here are the magazine boxes once fully dried. I believe I did 2 coats of paint for these. I chose the back of the box / the longest side of the box to stick my numbers on, just using a general glue stick. And then I picked up these handles from my local hardware store. They were about $5 each, and to adhere them to the box, I used Araldite, or you can use E6000 if you have that. I just wanted it to be a strong holding glue. I then popped the glue on the back of the handle and then stuck the handle to the back of the box. And then I used some scissors to help weigh it down and hold it in place. And then for those of you who don't want to go and use a store-bought handle, I tried another idea with using rope to make a handle. I just measured out where I wanted to put the holes in the box, punctured them with my scissors, then I cut a piece of this thick rope and then threaded it through the holes and secured it in the back with some masking tape. I also chose to use black twine to wrap around the rope to add a bit more interest to the handle. And here's the finished products. Not only are they pretty to look at, but they're also really functional and practical. So for the last DIY in this video, I based it off this little chip fryer basket that I picked up at Kmart for about $2. I just fell in love with it when I saw it, so I thought of this DIY around it. I got Davide, my muscles, to cut off the handle for me using some cutting pliers, and then I went in with the Araldite again as my glue and simply dotted it all along the back wires of the basket, and then positioned it and placed it where I wanted it on the cutting board. And then I set it aside to rest and let the glue dry and cure. And then I used my little alphabet and numbers stamp set again, and instead of using the ink pad this time, I chose to use my fine color marker and rub the ink from that all over the stamps, as the ink from the marker is a lot more permanent than the ink pad. And then I went ahead and added some more little embellishments with these old keys that I've had sitting around for a long time, another little wooden tag, I then took some of this dried lavender that I've had sitting around and wrapped a bit of jute string around it and tied a pretty little bow. And then I popped it inside the little basket. And there you have it, guys. A nice little decorative wall hanging where you can put some flowers or even put some practical items inside like pens or keys. I discovered that you could also use this as a bookend as well.
So there you have it, guys. There were 5 DIY ideas that you can incorporate into your home. I tried to make them practical as possible, so useful but pretty. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up down below. I know you know where to do it. It's right down there. Big thumbs up. Click it, not the thumbs down. We don't want no haters. Oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing. And if you're not already, please don't forget to subscribe. I'd love to have you as part of my Restyler family. Yeah, especially if you want to see more videos like this. Also, if you make your own versions of these, I would freaking love to see them. So please send me pics to my email or tag me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram. I'm all over that, and you can see more like everyday things from me as well. So you don't have to like wait a whole week to see a video from me or get inspired or make a response video and tag me in it. I would absolutely be thrilled and honored if you guys made any of these DIYs and even watch this video. Proud moment. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to stay creative, be yourself, and keep going. And live like no one's lived before. And laugh like no one can hear you. And dance like no one's watching.
Let's get ridiculous!
Hi, and I'll see you next video. Bye!